Kaieteur Radio, keeping you informed.
Demerara and Essequibo 99.1 FM.
Burby's 99.5 FM. Kaieteur Radio.
Good evening and welcome to this evening's newscast right here on Kaieteur Radio. I am Kevin Smith. Before we get to the news in detail, let's get to today's front page comment brought to you by Kaieteur News. From top to bottom, Guyanese society is riddled with those who snatch what belongs to others, especially from the poor and the helpless. Snatching is so chronic that this country is now a snatcher's paradise. Young men on bicycles in the streets snatch purses with nothing inside, snatch cheap cell phones, snatch empty shopping bags. Poor citizens are so alarmed that they leave handbags home and walk with an umbrella only. Those are also snatched. Snatching, though never condoned, allows feeding families, paying the light bill, buying medicines. This is how bad things are in this richest of lands, where the poor are forced to snatch from their fellow poor. At the top, from comfortable in their duty-free vehicles or their high decision-making offices, young and old Guyanese men and women join with foreign exploiters to snatch our gold and timber and bauxite. PPP and PNC leaders partner with the outsiders to snatch the biggest prize of all, our fabulous oil wealth. And after these leaders have conspired with foreigners to rob us, they snatch a sweet and rewarding piece of the oil action for themselves. What they snatch will afford them to live like kings for generations to come. We could be the richest country in the world per person, but here are our hungry brothers forced to snatch the little that we have from us so that they can survive. What would the right-thinking citizens of any country do with leaders like these, who snatch away birthright and leave us starving and hopeless? And now for the news in detail. When the life of an oil project nears its end, the operator engages in a process called decommissioning. This calls for the plugging of wells along with the removal of equipment and other special materials that would have been attached to the seafloor for the extraction of oil. The cost of this activity could run into billions of dollars for the operator, and in the absence of any proper safety standards to guide the process, the environment could be left with significant damage. To ensure that Guyana is not left in this predicament from a financial and environmental perspective, the PPP demanded that ExxonMobil adhere to international best practices regarding decommissioning for the Stabroek block. This was clearly outlined in the provisions of the production license that was approved for ExxonMobil's third offshore project called Payara. In other news, the Church of England, one of ExxonMobil's investors, has dumped all its stocks in the company over its poor record on climate change. A spokesperson is quoted as saying the proceeds were moved to an initiative which aligns with the objectives of the Paris Climate Pact. The church manages $3.6 billion in funds. Bloomberg said that the Church of England indicated it frequently reviews the holdings of its multiple investing bodies in line with ethical principles. This news agency yet again underscores the urgent need for Guyana to develop a strong regulatory framework to keep ExxonMobil in check as it operates 3 oil blocks here. Guyana's recent and ongoing issue with ExxonMobil's flaring indicate that the company is willing to let its operations be as lax as the regulator would let it, given that Exxon has opted to exploit the loophole in its permit so it could continue to flare. In other news, with the aim of ensuring that a balanced coverage is given to all media houses, the Minister of Public Affairs, Kwame McCoy, has revealed that online entities have now been added to the list of existing agencies to receive the placements of government advertisements. In a statement today to the press, Minister McCoy stated that his attention was brought to the issue of selective media houses being chosen to carry the government's public service announcements and ads. These must encompass the state and private entities, the statement noted. The Department of Public Information has within it an advertising department, which is responsible for the placement of public service announcements and other forms of advertisements for the government. In other news, the CARICOM Auto Sales Storage Facility located at Lusignan on the east coast of Demerara was destroyed by a fire yesterday around 2 p.m. The fire was deemed as an act of arson by the fire department, who also stated that it was started by a paper soaked in gasoline being thrown in the building. Owner of the property, Imran Inshan, disclosed to the media that he was not far away when the fire occurred and he managed to see smoke emerging from the building and his employees running out. It was reported that a man came into the store inquiring about a specific part for his car, but was told by employees that they did not have the product available currently. Following that, the man allegedly lit a piece of paper with gasoline and threw it into the office area. The fire spread rapidly due to the gasoline, and the building soon became engulfed in flames. And moving on, the APNU-AFC government may have deliberately stonewalled SARA in its probe of the awards of the Kaieteur and Kanji oil blocks in the weeks leading up to the 2015 elections. This is according to a report titled Signed Away by Global Witness. The investigation started in May of 2018. 2 years later, SARA has nothing to show for it. While in office, APNU-AFC was in the best position to assist the state investigator to complete the investigation with haste. Yet, even now, its leading officials claim not to know who the true beneficiaries are of the suspicious giveaways. Let's tell you now that as Guyana continues its efforts to develop a robust local content policy, Chatham House Associate Fellow Dr. Valerie Marcel has cautioned that the document would not be effective if it is not hinged on a realistic assessment of what the oil companies and its subcontractors need versus what the nation can supply. Dr. Marcel said that this step is one that countries do not do diligently. She strongly advised that there has to be very good communication between the company, the vocational centers, and the universities, while adding that there needs to be a platform of some kind for that to happen. Let's tell you now that it is important to maintain the sanctity of contracts signed by governments with oil and gas companies. But what is more important is ensuring that the citizens of a country receive value for the exploitation of the resource. If conditions become so different that the people aren't benefiting as much as they should, then renegotiation is possible. That is the opinion of Keith Rowley, Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago. And finally, the APNU-AFC opposition is calling for the PPP to regularize squatters of the Success area located on the east coast of Demerara. The coalition strongly condemned the removal of the squatters from the areas and also said that regularizing them is the most sensible and humane thing to do. The squatters have been tangled in conflict with authorities for a few weeks who have been demanding their immediate removal. The coalition came under question about why they had not addressed the issue while in government. Meanwhile, Annette Ferguson, former minister responsible for housing, stated that it was something that was not brought to her attention when she was the minister. Further, she stated that the coalition would have addressed the issue of squatting in their second term. And that brings us to the end of this evening's newscast. I am Kevin Smith. Thank you for listening. Stay tuned. Coming up next is the National Outlook with GHK Lal.
Want value for your advertising dollar? Then place your ads on Kaieteur Radio's newscasts, streamed live on 6 different mediums, reaching hundreds